Obama seems to have his hands in everything, right? You know, it's behind the scenes, not president anymore, but still somehow pulling puppet strings. Well, that hasn't stopped. Now, recently you've heard about the pushback that President Claudine Gay from Harvard University has received in reference to not resigning. So let's go back before we get to the plagiarism issue. This all started with billionaire Bill Ackman actually writing a letter to Harvard University saying that he was upset about the protest, and the letter that was written at Harvard University from the students actually blaming the state of Israel and talking about the occupation and oppression of the Palestinian people. So Bill Ackman had a problem with that. He raised these concerns to multiple people in different channels. And the next thing we knew, 3 university presidents were sitting in front of Congress: the president of MIT, the president of UPenn, and the president of Harvard. And they were being accused of allowing students to have anti-Semitic behavior. The only problem is that the statements that those students were making are actually not anti-Semitic. This is where the Zionist regime came in once again and tried to change the definition of what it means to be anti-Semitic now, so that they could accuse those students of doing that. This was another way to try to change the narrative, right? And get people back on the side of the state of Israel. But that didn't work. And that's just one example that they've used. The University of Pennsylvania president decided to resign. She got pressured, she resigned. However, the presidents of MIT and Harvard have not resigned. They have continued to remain in those positions. Harvard administration has said that they stand behind Claudine Gay and that they support her staying in that position. So what happens next? Going back to the Zionist playbook, we couldn't take them out that way. So what do? You smear them. You try to find something on them that will make them resign. So what they found on Claudine Gay is that apparently there was evidence of plagiarism. Now, plagiarism is not cool. Having been through the university system, I can tell you it's a serious offense in academia. That being said, I don't think that Claudine Gay is the only person, if you were to do the research, is the only university, president or the only university administrator that has plagiarized people before. There are others. It's just that she got caught. But the reason why she got caught is because they were looking for something to get her with, to get her out of there. So you had to understand all of that before we get into the plagiarism piece. And then I'm going to explain to you how this involves Barack Obama. Let's dive in.
Is Harvard University really holding its president, Claudine Gay, Dr. Claudine Gay, to the same standards when it comes to the plagiarism that it would assail for students committing the same offense? You might recall Dr. Gay, along with the presidents of MIT and Penn, giving generally seen as disastrous testimony on Capitol Hill earlier this month. They failed to explicitly say that calling for the genocide of Jews on campus would violate their campus's codes of conduct. Now, that, as well as Gay's commitment to progressive policies, have made her many right-wing enemies who have recently raised issues about her scholarship. But regardless of the provenance of these allegations, there is also the matter of whether or not they're true. Harvard's top governing body said a review revealed, quote, inadequate citations by Dr. Gay in a few instances, but, quote, no violation of Harvard's standards for research misconduct, unquote. Now, Harvard's guide on sourcing says this on plagiarism, quote, in academic writing, it is considered plagiarism to draw any idea or any language from someone else without adequately crediting that source in your paper, unquote. Now, critics of Dr. Gay and Harvard's review of the allegations say that there is a double standard going on here. CNN's Matt Egan is following this. Matt, what exactly is Dr. Gay accused of here?
Well, Jake, Claudine Gay's career is under a microscope, and now she's facing accusations of plagiarism. Now, Gay recently submitted corrections to 2 papers that she wrote as a professional academic in 2001 and 2017. However, there are clear examples of plagiarism that occurred in the 1990s when Gay was studying for her PhD at Harvard. And in one example, Gay's 1997 dissertation lifted one paragraph almost verbatim from another source without citation. That offense appears to go against Harvard's current guide on plagiarism, which you stated.
Pause there for a second. So one of the accusations refers back to the 1990s. So this is what I want you to pay close attention to. So you mean to tell me all this time has gone by and out of nowhere, now all of a sudden someone notices that she plagiarized a piece of someone else's work? This is not a coincidence, people. By the way, the president of MIT, you might want to buckle up and get ready too, because they're going to come for you too. But this is not a coincidence. Again, they went looking for it. They went looking for something because she refused to resign, and the university administration chose to stand by her and not what Congress was asking them to do, and not by Bill Ackman, who is a donor of Harvard. So this is what they'll do, people. They'll go looking for things. Now, they said that today it goes against Harvard's guidelines in reference to plagiarism. But was that Harvard's guideline back then at that point in time? When she wrote this paper in the 1990s, was the plagiarism guideline at Harvard the same then as it is today? And I would argue probably not, because universities change policies every couple of years. They change the rhetoric around their policies, and they've changed plagiarism policies too at these universities that I've experienced myself. I didn't plagiarize anybody, but I'm saying I've experienced them changing the language in reference to plagiarism. So ask yourself those two things.
Earlier, Jake. Harvard's plagiarism policy says that students who submit work without clear attribution to sources will be, quote, subject to disciplinary action, up to and including requirement to withdraw from the college. Now, the first publicly identified instance of plagiarism by Gay comes from a failure to properly cite sources in a 1993 essay. These instances of plagiarism were first reported by the Washington Free Beacon. CNN's analysis, led by my colleague M. Steck, confirmed some of the main allegations in that reporting. Now, Harvard's top governing body said in a statement last week it became aware of plagiarism allegations against Gay in late October. An independent review found a few instances of missing citations, but no violation of Harvard standards.
In late October, the war started October 7th. The protest started literally, I think that same week protest started.
However, it's not clear whether that review included Gay's 1997 dissertation. Now, neither Harvard nor Gay have commented on the allegations of plagiarism from the 1990s. CNN reached out to Harvard with a list of questions, but the school declined to comment. In a previous statement, Gay said, quote, "I stand by the integrity of my scholarship. Throughout my career, I have worked to ensure my scholarship adheres to the highest academic standards." Now, we should note that the plagiarism allegations against Gay were first circulated by conservative activists. One of those activists has also criticized Gay on Harvard's diversity policies. And Gay's most outspoken critic, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, has also highlighted the plagiarism charges, and he's argued, without evidence, that Harvard only hired Gay to fulfill diversity requirements. Now, plagiarism experts that CNN spoke to stressed that this is a very complex issue. These experts were divided on whether Gay's omissions warrant any punishment, but none of them called for her to be fired, and they noted it's quite rare for academics to be fired for plagiarism. Jake?
It's quite rare for academics to be fired, period. Just FYI. Like, especially if you are tenure, forget it. Like you have to do something very damning to actually be fired as an academic. But he mentions Bill Ackman and he says, well, Bill Ackman also agreed about the plagiarism, and conveniently leaves out that Bill Ackman pushed this entire thing, starting with the letter that he wrote to Harvard. Remember, he's a donor and an alum. The letter that he wrote to Harvard, he was disappointed that he said these students were calling for the extermination of Jewish people, which was not the case. All of this happened because one billionaire decided to use his power and his checkbook. That's how this all started. And Claudine Gay wouldn't even be in this situation. Again, I take plagiarism very seriously. But Claudine Gay wouldn't even be in this situation if these universities like Harvard, MIT, and UPenn did not rely heavily on donor money in the first place. That's why they're in this situation. These billionaires that can just come in and say, I'm going to pull my money if you don't do this and if you don't do that. I experienced it at Boston University too. It's the same damn thing. Just like our US government, these higher education institutions, they rely so much on donor money. And that was a big mistake. So the moment you get out of line, the donors start to speak up. Cornell West couldn't get tenure at Harvard because the donors, make no mistake, it wasn't just the tenure committee. The donors had a problem with the rhetoric that Cornell West had in reference to Israel and Palestinian rights. The fact that Cornell West supported the BDS movement, he supported the Palestinian self-determination. It was the donors that came in and said, you better do the right thing. That's why they should have never gone this route. And Harvard is notorious for this. It's not just them. MIT, listen, all these universities that took money from Jeffrey Epstein really have no room to talk. None. But it's all controlled by billionaire money and people that are puppets of the billionaires. And we'll show you how Obama plays into this as well.
What else are critics and plagiarism experts saying about Harvard's review of these plagiarism allegations?
Well, one criticism is the lightning fast speed that Harvard pulled off this independent review. These types of plagiarism reviews, they can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. This one, not even 2 months. Another criticism is that there's a double standard. One set of rules for the students, another for the president of the university. I do think we should emphasize, though, that these flames have been fired and fueled by activists. Not activists who are really concerned about academic citation methods, but right-wing activists who are trying to push out the presidents of Ivy League schools who they feel are too liberal. One last point here, Jake. Remember, when you're talking about plagiarism,
he really missed the big picture here. I'll let him finish and I'll tell you why he missed the big picture.
It really falls into two different categories. One is copying without attribution. There's also the more serious allegation of stealing someone else's ideas. And in this instance, these allegations of plagiarism are really all in the former camp. So yes, sloppy citations, but no, not idea theft.
Yeah,
Jake?
The big question, I think, in the future is, how will Harvard be able to punish any students found guilty of the same offense without inviting a lawsuit?
See, they're missing the big picture. I'm sorry. They're focusing too much on the plagiarism issue and they're not focusing on the overall problem here. And that is money, power, and control. The reason why she is even in this situation to begin with is because one billionaire raised their voice. One billionaire screamed out loud. The gentleman on the right, he says, well, conservatives went after her. Okay, and so what? Conservatives and liberals, Democrats and Republicans, they're both corporate. It doesn't really matter if the people who went after her were on the right, the left, in the middle, in between. The people who have the money are the ones who called the damn shots in the first place. Now, you mean to tell me this woman wrote this letter? She wrote this paper back in the 90s, and all these years, this was never discovered before. But look how quickly they were able to find it when she refused to resign. Just like that. All of a sudden, oh, look, we found plagiarism. Very quickly. Very quickly. So they're not focusing on the overall issue. They're just talking about the plagiarism part. The problem is these universities should not be in bed with billionaire donors, period. I don't care if the donor went to Harvard or not. Robert Kraft, Bill Ackman. I give zero fucks. I don't care if you went to Harvard. That does not give you the authority to then in turn tell these universities, these administrations, what they have to do. And they missed that. And I think they missed it on purpose because, again, they're reading from a teleprompter. They're not doing real research. All you had to do was connect the dots. And it all leads back to money. Couldn't do it. And speaking of it leading back to money, I want to know why even Barack Obama actually had a hand in this. Because here comes Obama. Obama secretly pushed Harvard to keep President Claudine Gay despite campus anti-Semitism, plagiarism controversies report. Why is Barack Obama also making demands from behind the scenes? Barack Obama does not work at Harvard. Barack Obama is not an administrator at Harvard University. I don't care if he was the former president of the United States. I don't care that he went to Harvard Law School. You don't work there, damn it. This is part of the problems that these universities have with administration. Those of us who have been administrators at these universities can tell you, we don't get to make any damn shots. We don't get to make any calls. There's so much bureaucracy. I couldn't make one decision without going through 5 different layers of people. Some of them that I never even saw. And I'm like, who's making these rules? People who don't work in the department, people who've never even met me, are going to tell me whether or not I can use an electronic form or a paper form. Little things like that. They're all controlled. So it goes on to say, again, this just goes to show you what's happening behind the scenes. Former President Barack Obama has secretly lobbied Harvard University officials to stick by embattled President Claudine Gay as she faces pressure to resign for giving cover to anti-Semitism on campus and for committing plagiarism. Obama. So here is Barack Obama telling Harvard University officials what to do and how to do their damn job. Obama, 62, a 1991 graduate of Harvard Law School, privately urged the university to let Gay remain in office after she testified December 5th before the House Education and Workforce Committee that calls for the genocide of Jews may be permissible under the school's code of conduct, depending on context, according to a report on Friday. So not only did Barack Obama get involved, but he went as far as to tell the university to let her remain in her job. Whether you agree with her being there or not, that's not his call. It sounded like people were being asked to close ranks to keep the broader administration stable, including its composition, a source told Jewish Insider of the former president's clandestine effort. Let's go on here. A spokeswoman, I skipped one. The report did not say whether that effort had continued after Gay's scholarship was called into question following her testimony for dozens of instances of alleged plagiarism. A spokeswoman for Obama did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Harvard declined to comment on the matter to Jewish Insider. Gay's fate partially lies in the hands of former Obama Commerce Secretary Penny Pritzker. A member of a prominent Chicago family, her brother is Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who serves as senior fellow of the Harvard Corporation, the university's highest governing body, which recently probed the president's academic publications for evidence of plagiarism. Gay previously told the Boston Globe in a statement, "I stand by the integrity of my scholarship. Throughout my career, I have worked to ensure my scholarship adheres to the highest academic standards." On Wednesday, Harvard announced that examples of duplicate language without appropriate attribution were found in Gay's 1997 doctoral dissertation, following a review by a 4-person corporation subcommittee. A separate review by a 3-person independent panel, also commissioned by the Harvard Corporation, determined no other improper citations were discovered in all of President Gay's other published works. It goes on to say here, if a university is willing to look the other way and not hold faculty accountable for engaging in academically dishonest behavior, it cheapens its mission and value of its education, wrote the panel's chairwoman, Representative Virginia Fox, Republican from North Carolina. So here's my take on that. All these universities go back and comb through every university president's dissertations starting tomorrow. Everyone go do it. Go look through everyone since we opened up this gate. Let's go back and see how many people have had instances of plagiarism in their dissertation. Doesn't matter if they change the plagiarism rule after the dissertation was written. Let's go back. Let's go back. Look at everybody. Because I can assure you, it's not just her. It goes on to say here, and that's going through the hearing. We went through the hearing before. This piece here, Pritzker, a 1981 Harvard grad, was appointed senior fellow of the corporation in 2022 after having donated $100 million to the university. You see this? This is what I was telling you about. And she helmed the search committee that appointed Gay as the school's new president last year. So all you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is donate $100 million to the university, and you'll get one of these senior fellow positions. Again, donor money influencing decision-making at these universities. When announcing the pick in December 2022, she praised Gay as a remarkable leader who is profoundly devoted to sustaining and enhancing Harvard's academic excellence. And I want to go on to this piece here. I just want to make sure I don't forget this part right here. Billionaire hedge fund manager Ken Griffin told the New York Times that Pritzker, who is Jewish, had privately agreed that Harvard's response to Hamas' October 7th terror attack had been tepid and a statement needed to be released in solidarity with Israel. And again, she donated $100 million. Meanwhile, loyal supporters of the school have paused hundreds of millions of dollars in donations over Gay's decisions to stand by student groups that blame the Jewish state for the Hamas atrocities. But again, this all goes back to money. Obama, Bill Ackman, Robert Kraft. And these universities, it was a mistake. And I've worked at these schools. It was a mistake for Harvard, MIT, Boston University, UPenn. It was a mistake for these schools to depend on donor money. Because these administrators are not making the decisions. The decisions are coming from above them, the deans. And then the dean's decisions are actually being made by the president of the university. But the president of the university is just a puppet that's being controlled by the donor class. The fact that we have a former president telling a university who they should keep in a position or not, that should bother every one of you. Let's go to some of the comments here. Thank you for the super chat, B. Sabby promised us a jazzy Xmas outfit and she served. Yes. Merry Christmas and thanks for your work. Thank you, B. The Oracle says the plagiarism issue should have been discovered during her screening as a candidate for the post. You would have thought, you would have thought. Neil says Norm Finkelstein can't even get tenure at a junior college thanks to Zionists like Dershowitz. That's right. LPA, yes, ask Alan Dershowitz what happened to this Zionist when he was accused of plagiarism. Not a damn thing. JB says this is a very good argument for public funding of colleges and universities. That's right. That's right. David, can't raise the money and control issue at the root of all of this. Otherwise, they would be implicated as well. Thank you for the super chat, Colin. Biden plagiarized speeches back in the 80s and people found out immediately. Why are they now finding out that Gay plagiarized after 2 decades? Bingo. Shout out to the Grassy Knoll for the super sticker. Thank you. And thank you for the super chat, Willis Addison. Traveled from DC, Tallahassee for Christmas family. Thanks, Sab. Thank you.